morning, everyone, and welcome to One-on-One with the Chief. My name is Tony Farrar, and I am the Chief of Police for the City of Rialto Police Department. And with me this morning is Jay Sumlin, known as JB by his friends. And we're here this morning to talk about a few things that are happening in the community and discuss a couple of questions. So good morning to you, JB.
Yes, sir.
Nice to see you this morning.
Pleasure. Nice to meet you.
And I guess the best thing that we can do is just kind of jump right into the questions, and I'll do the best I can to answer them for you.
Okay. Well, these questions, I met with my neighborhood watch members in the community, and we came up with some questions that they presented most of them and asked me to present them to you. First question is, under what circumstance should a neighbor get involved by calling and reporting a domestic dispute?
Well, the best way to answer that really is anytime you believe that there is any criminal activity taking place anywhere in the city, my thought has been that you should always call the police. Specifically, if we're going to talk about a domestic violence or a domestic dispute, first of all, when somebody does call the police, it gives us a chance to not only respond out there and make an assessment of the situation, but it also gives us an opportunity to find out really what's going on, to kind of bring peace back excuse me, to the situation. And also it gives us a chance to maybe assess things and find out if there are other services that we can provide to the family. Maybe there's something else that's happening there and they may need some other type of assistance. But ultimately, you would be doing the right thing as a citizen by reporting anything that you believe that might lead to a criminal action.
And that's generally the way I look at it. If I see something going on, and
it's good for anybody to subscribe to the concept of see something, say something.
Right.
And it really is. So if you believe that there's something that's taking place and you think that it might lead to a violent situation, or that there is possibly something going on where a family really needs some help. A lot of times it may not be a situation where we need to make an arrest, but yet we still can refer them to a different entity that might be able to help them in some other means, whether it be counseling or something else. So ultimately you would be making the right decision in doing that. So
what are the curfew hours for loud parties, and when should the police department be called?
We do get a lot of calls about noise. So let me answer that question with the measures that we have in place to deal with noise problems. We do have a city noise ordinance that does restrict certain types of noise during certain hours. Music, however, doesn't quite fall underneath that noise ordinance. However, with that being said, there is a penal code that basically talks about disturbing the peace, and that does fall under that. So first, any time that you feel that somebody's music is too loud and it really is disturbing your peace and your lifestyle, especially at night, late at night, that would be a situation where you'd want to call us so we could go handle that. And we could deal with it by merely an advisal to the family or the house that's causing the problem. We could deal with it through a citation, or ultimately, if we had to make an arrest if we couldn't get compliance. Secondly, we do have a first-party response, and this is specifically for music and loud parties. And that encompasses a mechanism where if you called us to go out to a loud party, we would respond out there. We would basically give them a written advisal with a set of guidelines where you have to comply with your music, and also letting them know that if we have to come back, the city is going to charge them for the time and the manpower that we use to have to come back. And usually that detours quite a bit of the second response. If we do come back, we will issue them a second response. We actually write a report and we issue them a citation, and they will be billed for the manpower. The third mechanism, and something a little bit newer now, is the city has enacted a social host ordinance that deals specifically with kind of two different prongs. The first one is the underage drinking at parties. So if we were called to a party, if you will, and there are juveniles drinking there, we can hold the homeowner or the person responsible for the party, hold them responsible via a fine or a citation for underage drinking. The second mechanism is we have a unruly gathering for large groups and parties, and we can also fine and write citations for that. So with that being said, if we kind of bring it back around, anytime music is too loud, or any noise for that matter, if it's disturbing what you're doing, the answer to that is to call us and have us come out and make an assessment on what's happening at the residence, because it could be simply a small birthday party with loud music and we can make an advisal and people will comply and turn the music down, or we may have to step up the enforcement effort in order to get the other people to comply. And if it's a truly unruly gathering, we can shut the party down and we will confiscate the music equipment as well. So we do have mechanisms in place for that, but there's really not a time frame just for music.
Okay.
So I hope that answers that.
Yeah, right. And the other thing is, like we mentioned before, where I live in my area, in particular, is that the county, my back fence is the end of the city, and over that fence is county. So now, but there was an incident, a situation rather, not just necessarily an incident here, a couple of years ago where they went on, and it was during the week, and it went on forever. But it was in the county. So now, if that situation arises in the county, should I call the sheriff department? Or we should call the sheriff department, or should we call Rialto Police?
Normally, I would tell you that if things are taking place in a different jurisdiction, it would be a county response. But ultimately, we do have reciprocal agreements with different law enforcement agencies, whether it's the county, whether it's San Bernardino Police Department, Colton, those agencies that border the city of Rialto. So if you called us, we could still go out, we could still make an assessment, we could still give an advisal, and then what we could do in turn is we would call the other agency and say, look, you're having a problem. I have a resident in my city calling about an issue, but the real issue is coming from a residence located in your jurisdiction, so perhaps we can work together to solve the problem. But there's no problem with calling us initially, and at least we can make that assessment and try to solve the problem for you.
Number 3 question is, at what point should the police be called when a suspicious vehicle has been parked for an extended period of time?
That's a really good question, and the answer to that is whenever you feel that whether it's a vehicle or an individual doesn't really belong and you think that there's something happening or it's suspicious, just you've got that gut feeling and something's not right, you need to call us. And I know a lot of people might say, hey, we just didn't want to bother you because we didn't think it was a big deal. Well, it is a big deal because a lot of times, law enforcement works off of information. And the more information we have, the better we do our job. So what we're asking anyone in the community to do is if there's a car parked in your neighborhood and you don't recognize it, and it's been there for quite some time, not just 5 or 10 minutes, where maybe somebody's visiting, but if you think that car has been there for a while and that it just doesn't belong there, you need to call us so we can come out and make a determination on why it's there. I would also add to that that the more information you give us, the better. So whether you call us or not, a description of the car, a license plate, anything else that can really help us, because who's to really say, if we're going to use an example here, that they don't park the car on a street and they're burglarizing a home around the corner? Well, if we don't get a license plate, it's going to be a little harder for us to maybe track them down. But if we get a license plate, it's going to make our job a lot easier to catch the person responsible. So my suggestion is, and going back to what we talked about a minute ago, see something, say something, that's really important. And we've caught many a criminal off of somebody calling off of a suspicious vehicle or a suspicious person walking around in the neighborhood. Those are things that your police department needs to know about. And you're not wasting our time, and if we come out and it belongs in the neighborhood, great. Now you can feel a little more comfortable, and if you see the car again the next time, you won't have to worry about it. But honestly, it's the person that sometimes turns a blind eye to it and doesn't let us know that something happened, and then something does take place where we could have, we could have negated that issue. So I really subscribe to the theory of if you see something that is suspicious in your mind, you need to let us know.
Right. And actually, and going along with that, I'd say that that's what Neighborhood Watch is kind of about. It's kind of keeping your eyes open and looking for suspicious stuff, unusual activities of more or less any sort, I guess, huh?
That is the essence, the true essence of Neighborhood Watch, is people watching out for people.
Right.
But, you know, if I'm going to be, I'm not going to say that, for law enforcement, it's great to have Neighborhood Watch, people watching out for people, and that's really what it is. But honestly, you're the eyes and ears for us. And, you know, that's how we catch criminals, because people call us.
Right.
And, you know, it's not, we don't always, you know, certainly we drive around and we observe things as law enforcement and we make arrests and we see things, but, you know, the majority of our arrests or responses are based off of information from people calling in. And that's really where it starts. Right. So, yes, you know, Neighborhood Watch is a fantastic thing, but let's add something to it to where, you know, while you're watching out for each other, make sure you let us know what's going on in your neighborhoods so we can make sure that it's a safer place to be.
Right.